First half struggles and second half dominance. Have the Chiefs finally found their championship swagger again? Let's talk about it. Taylor Heinicke went 24 of 39 for 182 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. J.D. McKissic was by far the Washington football team's best player today. J.D. came up big for Washington on the ground and also through the air. J.D. McKissic had 8 rushes for 45 yards and 8 catches for 65 yards. Antonio Gibson had a fumble early in the game, and I think he got slightly injured because he didn't play all too much after that. Other than the one big play on the touchdown to Ricky Seals-Jones on a blown coverage, the Kansas City Chiefs defense pretty much held Washington in check for the whole game, which is a really good breath of fresh air considering the Chiefs had one of the worst defenses in the history of the NFL through 5 weeks coming into today's game. Kansas City showed they have that dog mentality still, highlighted by Tyrann Mathieu. Tyrann was in the news a lot today for multiple different reasons. In the first half, it was because he was visibly frustrated. Another blown coverage play. How many times are we going to see Tyrann Mathieu put his hands over his head like this? Like, what the fuck? What are you doing? Cover your man. You can't bite. 3 different people can't bite on the same screen pass. There needs to be a guy that's disciplined enough to keep an eye on the downfield receiver, and we just didn't do it on that instance. Ben Neiman got burned, and we saw what happens when one of our best linebackers in Anthony Hitchens gets injured and a backup like Ben Neiman has to come in. Tyrann Mathieu also fractured his thumb in this game, and the Chiefs are just really injured right now. Unfortunately, Jody Fortson got hurt on a no-contact play, and it came out after the game that he did tear his Achilles, so he'll be out for the rest of the year. We really pray that he gets better soon and can join this team again next year, and let's go on another run. But for one of the best feel-good stories that KC has had in a long time, it really hurts to see Jody hurt, especially since he was just coming into his own. And he made one of the best catches of the year so far whenever he just went up top of the defender and pulled it down. We haven't seen somebody do that for the Chiefs in a long time other than Travis Kelce. So it was really good to see that. But unfortunately, we'll be without him for the rest of the year. So rookie Noah Gray, maybe he can step up in big moments. Gray was good whenever it came in for different pass blocks and run blocks. So we'll see if maybe he can earn the trust of Mahomes and get a couple more targets. Juan Thornhill is now starting in place of Daniel Sorensen in the safety position, opposite side Tyrann Mathieu, and the defense looked night and day better than it has so far this season. Like I said before, this game was really a tale of 2 halves, with the latter being completely dominated by Kansas City. Mahomes really calmed down in the second half after a 2-interception first half, one which could possibly be the worst play of his career, and the second one, another drop by Tyreek Hill that just so happened to deflect its way into a defensive player's hands. That's at least 4 interceptions this year that have hit wide receivers right in the hands and have just popped up in a bad way. Mahomes with some tough breaks here. Mahomes came out in the second half and looked like a completely different quarterback. His demeanor changed, he took what the defense gave him, and he ended the game going 32 of 47 for 394 yards, 2 touchdowns, and those 2 interceptions. Kelce was dinged up as well in this game. Of course, at the end of last week against Buffalo, he did catch a stinger. He was in on the first and second drive, and he came out holding his hand, which wasn't a good sign. And then a few drives later, he came hobbling out, and then he came hobbling out again a couple drives later. So you know Travis Kelce is a big guy. They hit him high, they hit him low, and he's just taking a little bit of wear and tear. But you know he's a beast, and you know he's bouncing back, and he's going to stay in that game because he's one of the toughest players in the NFL. But even after being hobbled up, that didn't stop him from getting 8 receptions for 99 yards. Tyreek Hill came into this game with a little bit of quad injury. When the Chiefs came out for the third quarter, he stayed in the locker room, got additional help, and in KC's first drive of the third quarter, he was on the sidelines on the bike trying to work it out. And he eventually did. And whenever he came in, he really brought that energy that KC needed. They eventually took the lead and never looked back. Tyreek ended the game with 9 receptions for 76 yards and a much-needed touchdown. Kansas City had nearly 500 yards of offense, and the record goes back to 500 at 3-3. They gain a game on LA thanks to the Baltimore Ravens. And they continue their road trip next week when they travel to Nashville and take on the Tennessee Titans in a rematch of the 2019 AFC Championship game. Also, on a quick side note, We can't forget about the Trayshawn Wharton interception, and what an interception it was. Pinning the ball with one hand against the back of the offensive lineman and finally coming down with it after that same offensive lineman tried to just swipe it out. He controlled the ball and he got his first career interception. Gotta shout out you, number 98, always putting it down for the big boys. So with that, I ask you, have the Kansas City Chiefs finally found their championship swagger?